before we get in this episode, can you do us a favor? Will you go ahead and subscribe to the channel?
Will you ring that notification bell?
And if you would, give this video a like. Well, enough of that mumbo jumbo. Let's get to the episode.
Let's talk developmentally speaking, glow up, and connecting through wrestling.
Hey everybody, I'm Morty.
And I'm Brian.
And on today's episode of Connecting Through Wrestling, we have Rockin Robin herself.
Hadn't heard that in a long time.
Robin, how you doing?
I'm good. We were just speaking of dogs. I was going to say if I had a tail, it'd be wagging.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to ask you a question that I ask everybody. What made you want to get into professional wrestling?
I mean, that's a pretty easy one for me. I had the opportunity, because of family. So it was more of a choice. I kind of saw what was going on. That was back in the day, in the 80s, and when they were making cartoons and the rock and roll wrestling and Wendy Richter had Cyndi Lauper, working with her, and I just thought, this is unreal. It wasn't the wrestling that we grew up with,
Mm-hmm.
and that we were drugged from show to show and town to town. This was something on a whole different scale, and so that's really, I guess, that's kind of what made me think twice about it.
So how was that journey with training and taking those first bumps?
It hurt. It was hard. Actually, it was the first one of the first things you learn is to just how to just fall flat on your back. Just the back bump, and you can do it a couple of ways. You can try to do a handstand and just go over, right on your back, or stand up and then just fall straight back. And you got to be sure to try to keep your elbows up and just not kill yourself, not break your neck, and which you don't know enough to know to keep your elbows up, and
Tuck your
try to
chin.
hit as much. Yeah, you try to hit as much of the mat as you can. But I will tell you, so that was the very first day, and the second day, I had to pick my head up off the pillow that I was sleeping on. I had to pick up my head by my hair, and try, because my neck hurt so bad from
Oh my gosh.
racing. And I don't even know how I got in the ring the next day, but I was bound and determined. So I did. Plus, I was trained by Nelson Royal, the legend, himself, and I wasn't about to, really wimp out on the second day. So yeah, I just pulled myself up by my own hair and got back in the ring.
I absolutely love that you say that, because I tell people time and time again that they say they want to get into wrestling. I said, listen, it's not ballet. I said the Sunday after my first Saturday of training, I had to grab myself by my hair and pull myself out of bed. I've told that story multiple times, and I'm so happy to hear somebody else finally say that, because
Yeah.
literally the whiplash in your neck from the first day of bumping your ass off, you feel
Yep.
like I literally was like, oh my god, yeah. And I would roll to my side and just like pull my legs off the bed and then sit up. Like, yeah, absolutely. That first day.
Exactly. I mean, it was like, you got hit by an 18-wheeler,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
like 10 times. And yeah, that was the hardest thing, was my neck just wouldn't work, I mean, you just you just you had no strength, no anything in it. I mean, it was brutal. It
Yeah.
was brutal.
Yeah, you hurt the back of your neck and then the front right here on both sides. Oh my gosh.
And then the elbows, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know enough to to because you just instinctively you're going to try to break your fall, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I kept my elbows kept hitting that mat, and so I mean, they were my elbows were the size of my knees the next day.
Just sticking out that
So
far.
oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. It was rough. It was
I,
rough. It toughens you up quick,
oh yeah, I
you know,
remember I
or it
tried to.
doesn't.
Yeah, I tried to train for a little bit, and they were teaching us to throw the forearm like against the ring post because you're only going to hit that once, and learn to.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And I had a
yeah. You're
big old
right.
bruise, big old bruise.
I learned how to punch correctly. I mean, I always when I got into wrestling, I thought I knew how to throw a punch, and then my trainer was like, "You think you know how to throw a punch? Put a nail in the wall and try to do it to the nail." And I found out real fast. Yeah, you learn how you learn how to get there without actually touching it. Woo,
Yeah,
for the first time
yeah. All the
I punched that.
yeah. There's a lot of interesting techniques, right?
Hmm. So, how was it coming up, in the '80s and wrestling in general back then?
Um, you to me that was the heyday
Hmm.
um of wrestling. It was just like I said, when everything really took off. um and just the 80s in general was a what a decade that was. So um just I look back on it now and traveling with people like Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage and Elizabeth, and all the people that were around at that time. um it's just some crazy memories.
Definitely has to be a surreal feeling.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
just because yeah, I mean, you just name when people think about wrestling. Well, nowadays they either say The Rock or John Cena, but 90s and early 2000s, you say wrestling, they all like go, oh, Hulk Hogan, yeah, you know.
Hmm.
So to travel with those people, that's you know, I know personally, I would probably be a little bit marking out on the inside, just being like, you know, like these people are,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And even as I said, even growing up with people coming by the house like Andre the Giant.
Hmm.
um and we go way back to the days of the assassins and the those sorts of people. Uh it it's still it was that era, I guess. When you say superstar, that
Hmm.
there were so many of 'em, so many recognizable people. And so um yeah, it was crazy.
Rockin'
Crazy
Robin's
fun.
part of that time. How did Rockin' Robin come about?
uh the name, or just getting involved.
So, the name, like how? So you trained and then
uh
you started wrestling and then.
yeah. It was I honestly, I think that one of the first matches I had, they just they came out and kind of stuck the head in the dressing room and said, "Okay, what are we going to call you?" And that quick, well, I guess the first thing that came to mind was Rockin' Robin.
Hmm.
Um, and if I was going to use my name, so um, it was kind of that simple. There's really wasn't a whole lot of thought that went into it.
and
Uh,
some of the best are named that way. I mean that's real. That's
yeah,
that's awesome.
and some are named 5 or 6 different
Oh yeah.
times or 5 or 6 different names before the one sticks that's the really good one.
Hmm.
But I've said this in I don't know another interview that I always thought uh, I mean the entire time I wrestled I was always a baby face.
Hmm.
They wouldn't I guess the way it was put was I don't know if they'll really buy it, if for me trying to be heel. And I was like, well, I mean, let me just walk. I'll go out to the ring and maybe just like kick a kid or something real quick and but it would have been
Let's
it would
try it
have been
out.
fun to be Rotten Robin for a while. Now that would have been
Oh
fun.
man, Rotten Robin. Oh, I mean,
Rotten Robin, that would
oh you
yeah.
should come back.
I'd have worked that.
You should come back and manage heels as Rotten Robin.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. There you go.
oh
Yeah,
gosh,
that
that'd
could
be
be fun.
so good. Just slap the crap out of people. Oh, it'd be so good. Oh,
Absolutely. Just smile, and there you
yeah,
go.
I love it. Love
Mhm.
it. For real, that'd be awesome.
I was
That'd be a
watching
lot of
some
fun.
footage earlier today where you won the women's title. Was it over in
Uh-huh.
France? That crowd just erupted when that happened. I think I missed that the most. Like you were saying, like the '80s and like the early '90s, the crowd was so involved, and it was just.
They were, yeah, yeah, you're right. I mean, and that I think that has a lot to do with it too, Brian.
Mm,
Is that excuse me, it's one of the biggest differences I think today is that um or back then that the story was told in the ring,
mm-hmm,
like the old days. And you worked in your match. You got in there. You didn't get on the microphone and and do a monologue about what you're going to do or this or that. You told the story in the ring, and and to me that's how you get people involved.
mm-hmm,
I think I think it's even tougher to try to get people involved in a match that maybe is 5 minutes, 10 minutes long, and um, but all the explanation has been outside of the ring, on the on the mic, or some other way, and I don't know, a lot of people have said they actually miss that part of it,
mm-hmm.
and I totally get it.
I'm definitely
Um,
one of them for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's something about the
So
pure
yeah,
raw emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, and yeah, like you said, I mean, bringing the crowd up, bringing them down, getting them excited, and then like you said, and so in the match in Paris, they just it was an incredible feeling and sound when they were so with you,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know that you see as much of that
Mm-hmm.
today.
no,
Maybe in the big matches.
Yeah.
but even so on that, I think they're so worried about hitting times and getting certain moves off more than actually telling the story in the ring.
Yeah. And that's another thing as far as getting the moves and all. It's now it's so quick and it's just high spot after high spot after high spot. And so there's rarely you see that slow down. And again, to tell the story, um,
Mhm.
and to give people a chance to get involved. They're
Mm-hmm.
it's like they're busy just trying to look all around
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes not sure what they're watching.
Yeah.
So um, yeah, it's that's quite different too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've seen many people in wrestling recently get put into a submission hold and actually like reach for the crowd, like that Ricky Morton, like, I need you, help me, cheer for me, bring me
Right.
back. I've not seen that in
In a long time.
ages on
Yeah.
the main product, and that it's missing that. It's missing. I mean, there for a while they said don't even work the crowd, just work the cameras, and I'm like, why would you do that? The
Right.
cameras
Right.
the cameras will see you working with the crowd, and that will get them either against you or for you. It doesn't matter if you talk to a camera; those people aren't going to react back. They're miles away. So you're exactly right. Telling the story in the ring is missing now, and
Yeah.
and
For sure.
it's a beautiful thing when it happens, and it happens rarely, but it definitely is a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. Like you were saying, submission hold, or even you remember the the sleeper.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody get put in the sleeper and the arm goes up, and then it comes down. And there's up and then down. And then they, hold the arm up. It's like, yeah, no, I'm still alive. I'm still alive. And
The
then
crowd goes
trying to
crazy.
come back. What's that?
The crowd goes crazy
Yeah,
whenever, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But
right.
the thing that happened with that, I think, is that not enough people were losing to sleeper holds, and
Yeah,
they needed to balance it out a little bit more because you need to actually see that arm go down the third time, so that whenever somebody fired out of it, it meant more. Which
right.
I would love to see the sleeper hold make just a amazing comeback, because it's a legit move that
Mm-hmm.
that draws people in.
Right,
You're absolutely right.
right, right. I see some now that every now and then, I might catch a show, um, run across it on TV, what have you, and and they're calling these moves like I've never heard these things I've never heard before, and I go, what was that? It and it looked an awful lot like an old move,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it has a new name, whatever. And then they bounce right back up from it, which is, you know,
Yeah.
Where's the
which is
cell?
tough too. Yeah, right. It's it's yeah, it's amazing what they can live through now,
Yeah.
that we didn't back then.
Yeah. I, it, Touching on that, I I'm glad that, I mean, I enjoyed it when I was a kid, but like the hardcore matches and stuff, I I never understood how those guys could beat the crap out of each other with steel chairs, and then yet the bad guy won the main event because he hit the guy with the steel chair one time.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, people are smarter than that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And so it and but that's part of what, again, going back to the 80s a little bit, I think when they figured out to when they started really catering more toward the kids, um and it was a smart thing to do because you get the kids in there, you got the parents, so now you've got everybody, you got the whole family. uh but when they I think started to gear it more toward the younger children,
Mm-hmm.
um that it was that I think that's when you kind of started losing the storytelling and all that went with it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Just kind of brought it. I don't want to say dumb it down, but you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
um it's, more about the the outfits, the characters,
Mm-hmm.
the gimmicks, and
Yeah.
but hey, it all worked then.
Yep.
So,
So
so you win the women's championship. How do you feel about that? You reached at the time it's the pinnacle.
I mean, that was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It was I mean, definitely a highlight of life.
Mm-hmm.
um and uh, just like I said, just that I had that opportunity where many others don't.
Mm-hmm.
And but when I decided to start wrestling, that was the goal. It
Mm-hmm.
was just kind of go as far as you can go. And but I knew for me it wasn't going to be. I wasn't going to be in it for life.
Mm-hmm.
For number one, it was a lot different with the women. With women, we were still like a novelty, the popcorn match or novelty match, like the midgets, and which, man, I'd love to see those guys again.
Mm-hmm.
But so we were just kind of always treated like an add-on, um, and so I knew that again, there weren't too many women even at that time, aside from Moolah, that had a really long career, in
Mm-hmm.
wrestling.
Right.
So uh, I got in, kind of did my thing, and um, I guess retired um, fairly young. So um, it it worked out. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, we actually just got done talking with a local paper before this interview, and we were talking about how we we do a show called Glow Up, which started. We interviewed the gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah, and we wanted, because it has almost like a cult following that does, and the interviewer didn't know much about wrestling, but we basically explained women's wrestling at one point was seen as a novelty, and we want
Hmm.
people to realize that there's much more to it than that. That women's wrestlers are just as capable as men's wrestlers,
Mm-hmm.
as men wrestlers, and that they are just as much part of the show as anybody else. And that's why we made Glow Up. That's why we're interviewing you. That's why we want that to be known, that
Mm-hmm.
that
Oh,
that it's everyone has done a part to bring wrestling and make it what it is today. And dare I say, Rockin Robin was a trailblazer for what is now the women's wrestling movement. And
yeah.
it's one of
I
those
love
things.
you guys.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. And we just want, that's why we do this, is to thank you, to give you the credit that you deserve, and to let you know that of course, I may have not been there live to see it, but I've seen the matches. I know what they are, and I know what they meant,
Mm-hmm.
especially to those little girls in that crowd. You know what I mean? To see this, wow, look at that. They're in
Hmm.
there wrestling just like the guys, and it it's it was definitely something to be remembered,
Mm-hmm.
and that's
I
that's what
appreciate
that's why we do
it.
this. And yeah,
That's
I
that's
just
incredible. And I get, I'll get messages, I'll get private messages through Facebook and what have you, from different people who um, said that they were at a particular match when they were 8 or 9 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and saw us wrestling, and um, what an impact it might have made. And um, it's wild, some 30 some odd years later,
Mm-hmm.
that they remember those moments.
Yep.
So yeah, it's pretty wild. And
Well, you've made an impact. Like
yeah,
Morty was saying, I appreciate everything you've done.
I can't work a computer, but yeah, but I can make a I can win a title, but I can't get a camera to work on the computer. Man, days have changed.
Yeah. So you said you got out of wrestling young. What's life after wrestling been like?
Actually, for me, I mean, it's been great. I got into something that I can't imagine not doing now. I've been an appraiser um, for about 20 years now. So I appraise houses. I have a small appraisal company, and then occasionally flip houses on the side.
Hmm.
And absolutely love it. Um, and the funny thing is that actually the appraisal business or becoming an appraiser might even be just as hard, if not harder, than becoming a wrestler. It's just the requirements, and you have to go through mentorship and just all of this stuff, and it was a tough road, but well worth it.
Hmm.
So yeah,
So
I
are you
so I
allowed
was
to?
lucky. I was
Sorry.
lucky to really find something that that I love and I guess can continue to do until I'm you know want to retire again. I don't know.
So are you allowed to appraise the houses that you flip?
No,
I
no.
just wondered.
Yeah,
I'm like, no, that's a handy dandy thing to have.
yeah. That'd be nice. Uh, no, but it does help. It does help to know. What. Just being an appraiser,
Hmm.
what I'm going to sell the house for and
Yeah,
all
what
that good stuff. So, yeah.
you probably know what people are looking for in houses and what will raise the value if you flip one. So yeah, absolutely. I just got done fixing up my first ever house that I owned, and then I rented to somebody, and then I ended up selling it, and I had to fix it and sell it, and so I just got done going through that a few months ago. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely a process.
it's not for the weak. That's for
No.
sure.
Mm-mm.
Um, it all looks like a lot of fun, and you see the shows on TV and all, and it's
Those shows are lies.
definitely not that.
Those shows are
Uh,
lies, straight up lies.
yeah, yeah. There's yeah. I mean, I sit there and talk back to it. I'm like, yeah, right. Yeah, that's not. And like they'll give like the cost of they did this for this much, and yeah, I'm adding in my head, no, there's no way, there's absolutely no way. And
I call BS.
yeah, exactly, yeah, total BS. And but yeah, it, it's a it's fun, it, the payoff, and I don't mean just the money,
Mhm.
but taking something and just completely remodeling and bring it back to life, is really cool to see the
Mhm.
before and
Hmm.
after. But it's for anybody out there who's thinking about it, just be prepared to work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you make any appearances now? Any conventions or?
Occasionally. I don't do a whole lot. I figure just there might be real easy to get too much of me out there. So, um, maybe once or twice every year or two.
Mhm.
Um, when we did a episode on the Dark Side of the Ring,
Mhm.
um, not too long ago, and so when that came about, I got a lot of calls to come out and do some appear. So probably did a few more when that was out, but yeah, I kind of scale it back a little. So I just pop up every now and then.
I
Yeah.
don't blame you.
Yeah.
Well, now we have the unveiling of Rotten Robin. So you'll have,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we'll get you some bookings for that. And,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I gotta think of a wardrobe. That would be fun.
it'd be cool for sure. Absolutely.
Hmm.
So,
Is
if you had any advice for the up and coming, or just not even started yet, person that wants to get into wrestling, what would it be?
Oh, I don't. I have a friend whose son. Hi, Michael. Uh, that's his name. He is. He's actually training now. And he's training over in Atlanta. Um, and you're just going after, going after that dream, and he's doing really well. I guess it, again, going back, it's a whole lot different from whenever I got into it and whenever I trained. So I guess I would say try to if it's something you really want to do, try to search out a uh, a a good program or
Hmm.
training facility. There are quite a few out there,
Hmm.
from what I understand. I mean, there's a ton more, I think, than there ever was. Um, so that so the opportunities are probably greater. Years ago, it was almost unless you knew somebody, it was tough to get into. Um, but now with some hard work and some drive, and again finding a good facility, good trainers that take it seriously.
Hmm.
You can definitely open more doors than you used to be able to.
Absolutely.
So, hmm that's it.
I'd agree. Well, I just want to thank you for coming on today, talking, and thank you for everything that you've done. You made an impact on my life growing up. Rockin Robin, when I was a kid, I'm very grateful to be able to have watched that and now sit down with you here today. So thank you for everything that you've done.
Well, I appreciate it. And like I wrote to you, I said, thanks for thinking of me. It's after all these years again,
Hmm.
it's nice to still be thought of, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You have a great evening.
You too. Bye, Brian. Bye, Morty.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
See you guys again.
Hey everybody, it's Morty,
It's Brian.
and thank you for watching today's episode of Developmentally Speaking.
If you could, please click that subscribe button.
And don't forget to punch that bell icon so you can get notified whenever we go live or drop a new video every Monday. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next
Developmentally speaking.